just playing around with a new little tune and stuff. I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts of where I'm at with my thinking on Christianity and my Bible study and so forth. One of the things that I've been able to do while I've been recuperating and so forth is to be able to listen to Bishop Spong and also Dr. Marcus Borg and another gentleman who Dr. Spong is talking about is Tillich. That's T-I-L-I-C-H, who was a Christian theologian, a philosopher, and so much more than that. He, you know, his thinking about God and who God is and everything is just very, very deep, and it's not something that I have come to just yet. But what I have come to is the fact that I cannot, and no longer can I, just take the Bible literally. And I think that a lot of our Christian brothers and sisters, fundamentalist, some of the different Christian sects, like, you know, Baptist, Southern Baptist, and some others, really take the Bible as literal, that things that happen in the Bible actually happened. And what I have learned with my studies lately is that I have to remember that the people that we're talking about here, the disciples, Paul, all of these men, Jesus, they were all Jewish. And so we need to look at them with a Jewish lens and holistically be able to understand where they were at that time, what was happening with them and what was happening around them during the time that they existed. You know, put things in perspective of what was going on, why they said certain things. I've always loved the book of John, and Spong illustrates very clearly that when the Logos, or the Word, became flesh in the form of Jesus, the way that John talks about certain characters in the Bible, I have come to find that he's not speaking literally, but these are figures, sort of an exaggeration, if you will. The Jewish people would, you know, tell a story or maybe a parable that, you know, Jesus was very parabolic in his stories. One, so that the Jewish people would understand what he was talking about, but not necessarily the Pharisees or the Sadducees would, because they're so mired and steeped in law and having to do things, you know, black and white and that kind of thing. And so when Jesus is speaking, and John is speaking about the cross, for example, and Jesus, John is saying that his mother Mary is there at the foot of the cross, that John is there, or not John, but his beloved disciple is there at the foot of the cross, and of course he's got the two thieves on the right and on the left. And when he's talking and he's saying to Mary, mother, you know, mother, behold your beloved son. And then when he speaks to his beloved son, he says, behold your mother, and do not spit her out, if you will. Take care of her. So when he's speaking like this, what he really is saying is not necessarily speaking of his actual mother or his actual beloved, but rather instead with a transcended thinking that Mary is representative of the Jewish nation, and that his beloved is representative of the Christian nation, and that the two are intertwined with each other, that from the Jewish nation birthed, if you will, the Son, Christianity, and that we are to not forget our roots of our Jewish roots in Mary. And so when you think in that way, when you think of what you're reading through a Jewish lens, and the Jewish people, my understanding is that when they would tell a story, they would exaggerate their stories. And this was to indicate to other Jewish people, by the way, this is a fairy tale. Like when we talk, we say once upon a time, and at the end, and everybody lived happily ever after. Now, the moral of the story may be great, and you don't want to throw out that fairy tale, because the moral is so great. Just like the moral, the story of the prodigal son. Did that really happen? Not necessarily, but the moral is something that you don't want to lose, and so that it's repeated, and is so in churches throughout the countries and throughout the world. So I can no longer take things literally anymore, and I find it very, very interesting, and I find that I want to know more, and I want to keep reading the Bible more, and I think that it's because I've grown up, in a very short time, I must say, because I've come back. God has brought me back, has nudged me, and whatever you want to call it, but I have come back to Him, and I'm grateful. But because of this issue of of how the Bible has been used throughout the years to condemn certain people, and now we have learned, we've grown up, if you will, that those things no longer apply. Let's take, for example, slavery. Back in Paul's day, it was still okay, but it was a kinder, gentler way of looking at slavery, as Bishop Spung talks about. But today we know that it's wrong, and we don't do that any longer. If we still did, then as Dr. Spung says, Mexico and Canada would be in trouble, because the Jewish nation, looking at things through a Jewish lens, is you could not make slaves of your own people, but your neighboring people were okay. So again, Mexico and Canada would be in big trouble. So, but thank goodness we do not do that any longer. And also, women were marginalized, but we know, if you study God's Word, that Jesus had female disciples, Mary being the head of female disciples. There were female disciples that walked with him from Galilee to Jerusalem, and that Mary was the head of that. And so that cannot be discounted, that women do have a place in church and as leaders of the church, and should, because Jesus didn't see man and woman as separate. He saw them as being the same. And that goes back to Genesis. In the beginning, God created, man and women in His own image. So, so we no longer can really, do that anymore with, making women less than, because they are not. It doesn't also make men less than either. Okay. And then again, now we've got the issue of, the gay and lesbian thing where, it again, the Bible, they're beating the heads, beating over the heads of people that, you can't be gay and you can't be Christian. Well, that's not true either. As we know through numerous studies that you don't pick being gay. Just like if you're straight, you wake up and you've gone into puberty and all of a sudden you are taking better care of yourself physically, that you have changed, that you're trying to attract the opposite sex of yourself. And that just happens, not something that you selected, but it's just something that you do because that's how you were made. And the same thing with gays and lesbian, transsexual, queer. That is how we are made. Of course, we have it different because we don't have a whole lot of role models. We don't have a lot of identification to follow and know what to do, and it's different for everybody. Some people are late bloomers. Some people come to their own quite early, and so there's it's for the LGBT community, it's quite difficult because now we're the group that is getting hit upon with the Bible, or with wrong teaching and wrong beliefs, and this is not something that Christ would want for us, and for how we are to see and how we are to treat each other. And if you think of Christ as being love, and love being the ultimate, that it is think of a sink that's just overflowing and it just keeps flowing and flowing and flowing and never stops. That is Christ's love, and that's what I would want to try to assimilate into my own being, and to show others around me through my daily life that love. And just trying to achieve that in itself is a difficult task. So I just wanted to share my thinking and where I'm at right now with my Bible study. And if you get a chance to look at YouTube at some of these gentlemen and some of their statements and stuff, I think you'll come to the same conclusions at being an adult, that we put away childish things, and when you're growing up, the security of thinking of things literally is one thing, but as an adult you want to try to transcend that thinking, and being more holistic about biblical things, and thinking about philosophically thinking about God as well. So anyway, those are my thoughts for today. I do hope you're doing well, and I hope to be up and on my feet and back to my normal routine, hopefully by next week. So take care, have a great weekend. Keep doing the things that you enjoy, and doing things that you love, and share with with others when you can. Okay, love you.